that now I have to interview this stuff. That's why Khosana usually does interviews.
Yeah. See, people are already coming in. I'm so excited. Okay. Yeah, great angle. Hey loves, welcome back to Bioscope with me, Mary Kate Sulela. And thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're new to the channel, please do not forget to like and subscribe and comment down below. And since we're live today, I welcome you guys to share any questions and ask our guest, which is Juvais.
Yes, Juvais.
Yes.
Yeah, they got right.
Which is beautiful name actually. Can you please tell me what does it mean?
Well, I've been told multiple times by various people because it's French that it means to go. I don't. That's
go.
Just to go, like to go, and yeah. But
I'll see it as lift off.
Okay, lift off. Fine.
Yeah.
Thanks. Better translation.
You know.
Thanks. Cool.
Yeah. Who's the director of Four Walls?
Yes. Well, one of the directors, writers, and producers.
Wow.
Yes.
How many directors?
There was three of us. Khosana Monchusi and Menzi Mzmela, who you might know as Anarcadium.
Yes.
Yes.
Fellow YouTuber. Hopefully you come back to YouTube next year.
I heard people are missing you.
I do. I miss his content so much.
Yeah,
He's incredible. But last time when you checked out, he said he was working on an animation, which I'm still waiting for.
Yes, well, it's not an animation. He's working on a graphic novel.
Yes.
So they are still working on it. It looks amazing. I've read some of it. It's brilliant.
I'm
really,
excited.
Really brilliant. But it's a journey. I know he's still getting funding to finish it and stuff. You know, it takes time. Whether this could become animation at the end, I know, but it's a really beautiful project. He started quite a few years ago. He kept telling us about it and stuff. And I think the one thing about Menzi too is that he's very, which I do appreciate about him, he's very, like, when he sets his mind to something, he really does it. You know, he doesn't let anything or anybody else tell him he can't do anything. That's an amazing mentality to have.
Yeah, and I think it's also good to have someone in your team who comes in with different ideas, and which makes me want to start with my first question with you. How is it working with two fellow other directors, and why did you guys decide so?
Well, it was during COVID when we wrote Four Walls, which is the project we directed and wrote. And we were talking about like what do you want to do, what kind of stories you want to tell, because we were primarily working in like non-scripted reality TV and stuff. So we were talking about things in our country, what kind of genre we wanted to tell, and then we just sat and we started thinking of a story and working. So that one of the things was we got it funded by the NFVF and the PSP, and it was a limited budget. So we had to say, okay, cool. We wanted to put it in one location, put like 4 or 5 characters, and just create this story that builds into this ultimate climax. And then working with them, I mean, collaborating with Menzi and Khosana, we've known each other for so long, you know. The great thing about collaboration is that we think very differently, but we also understand and think the same things in certain ways, but also respect each other as creative, you know. The most important thing is that when you work with people, I think in general, film, TV, whatever it is that people are not always going to think the way you think, but it's about there's a mutual respect, that I respect his opinion and I fight for my opinion. And also, just to be honest with you, Khosana and Menzi, I'm saying this because I know them personally, but they're two of the most talented people I've ever met in the continent, maybe in the world. Like they really are, and I'm really excited for the rest of the world to see the work that we're going to produce.
Okay, please describe how it is like on set. Is someone focusing on like the technical in directing, or someone is focusing on the performance in directing, or how is it like? I just need more details.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Right? There's no like, when you're directing, you can't focus on one thing. Everything is important. You know what I mean? Because you have to worry about the technical. Obviously, the importance is having a good team around you. So we have a great DOP, Brad. You have great production, Shaw. Like we have great people around you that make it better, make it easier for you. But you still have to be, you still have to understand, you know, because the thing with with narrative and scripted work is that everything is story. Like everything is story. Everything. So the way the lighting is, the way people are dressed,
Yes.
certain like textural looks and touches and stuff. Everything is story. So you as a director have to be all concentrating every single element. So even though you might understand lighting to the level that a DOP does, you must understand what their lighting is saying about their character or what mood you're trying to convey, when it comes to music. But one of the key things though, for us is how we work is having a very strong treatment. Like we go in and out treatment. We spend like down to why a character is wearing a certain color, what does it say about them in that part of the story. So that for us, by the time we get onto set, the crew already knows the story we're going to tell, that there's less time is wasted on trying to explain things. You know what I mean? It's like we can redo something again, and we will obviously. You kind of need to be prepared, extremely prepared, but also open to change. You know what I mean? Because a film is organic. You can prepare as much as you want to, but then
it rains.
Exactly. Like no, not even that. I mean, sometimes it's actually good things that change. Like working with Entle in the past that we got to work on Entle, Kulu, Jeff Jackson, Gift, Terrence. Like they give you stuff that you didn't expect, you know what I mean? And then you're like, wow, and I want to see a different version. I want to see that again, because it's like they just take your words and then they just turn into something completely different. And then you've always got to be open to that, because in your mind when you're directing, you're seeing it this way, and then you're working with a DOP that gives you a different perspective, and then you're working with an actress, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so that's the kind of
it's energy, it feeds off each other.
Yeah.
Since you already broken the bridge and you talked about your cast, before we get more, start knowing more about your characters, stuff like that, please tell us about the concept or synopsis of the Four Walls.
Sure. So there's a lot.
Yeah.
So Four Walls takes place in a house. Basically, our protagonist, Grace, who is an abused woman, comes from a very it's GBV relationship. Whose husband is a cop, and on an unfortunate day, there are two guys, Ace and Grootman, who are played by Kulu and Jeff Jackson. They're on the run from a botched cash and trust robbery.
Okay.
Right? And they're on the run from the cops, and they decide to hide out in this house.
Okay.
And so they break into the house, they hold Grace hostage, and there's a few twists and turns. I can't give it to you.
I have a feeling. I already have a feeling where it's
whatever
going.
No,
don't tell them. Don't tell them.
People, yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of twists and turns in the story, and ultimately, it's about them trying to get out of it and her trying to survive.
Can I say something? This is so funny. In the morning, I was watching. What is it? Till dawn or something like that.
Yes, the one to Quentin Tarantino.
Yes, yeah. I have a feeling the story may be
really?
a reference to something like that. What a coincidence.
No comments. I have to say to that. If I give it away, then I
don't.
Okay. Yeah, but I think the story was for us when we developed it, and because it was so the format was very different. It's not really been seen in our country. It's kind of it's a short, limited series, so it's 9 parts. It's 5 to 10 minute episodes. So we were trying to tell it because we were looking at different formats and different story points. We wanted to do a TV show, but obviously budget-wise, we weren't being able to do a TV show. But I think for us, the biggest thing we wanted to do was that we just wanted to work with amazing actors, tell a great story, and focus on the story, because often I know as young filmmakers, because we've shot short films before, is that you can get overwhelmed by the production element, and then the actual story gets lost in it, because you're rushing, because you got 4 different locations in production day, and you know what I mean, and and then you end up having cut out scenes. You don't get time to work with the actor. You don't get time to work with performance. You don't get time to work with DOPs and stuff. So for us, it was more about telling a story that pulls an audience along with. It has a lot of context to it. There's a lot of meaning behind each character, and also just giving every character time to build a little bit more momentum. So this really is a powder keg about 4 people, 5 people, and just how they interact with each other's lives in this unfortunate circumstance. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you please give us a character background on Bali Entle's character, which is Grace, right?
Yes, Grace. Yes. So the interesting thing about Grace's character was that the story was written by three men, right? And so she's in an abusive relationship, right? And I think for us, what we had to do, because we were three men, we were worried about, I guess, our male gaze, and the men's part in the story and her version was that we did a lot of research in terms of how does a woman get into these situations,
Yeah.
because we often don't understand. We see the extremities of it when somebody gets abused or there's violence or
How did it
unfortunate
get
death
that
and things like
to?
that. And we only look at an instant, but we don't realize the backstory of how somebody gets to that point.
Yeah.
How abusers they first start with isolation, and then it starts maybe verbal, then it becomes slightly physical, then it becomes a lot more physical, then ultimately, tragedy wise, it can end in death, I guess. So with her backstory, Grace, and we had said this, that Grace didn't, this is another misconception, is that we often look at women and go, why don't you just leave him? It's not that easy. It's psychological. Abuse is not, it's more than physical. It is psychological. A lot of these men, they break these women down, and they take away their humanity, and then you ask these people like, just snap out of it. It's not like that. You know what I mean?
The abuse becomes normalized.
Exactly, and it's what they know and stuff like that. And I think for us, it was very important that we understood that Grace's representation of many women, because we did research into a lot of like stories similar to Grace's and how they got there. So Grace's backstory starts like 5-6 years. We don't want to see that, but it starts 5-6 years before that, when she got married to him, to her husband. And it slowly became isolation. He isolated her from her family, from her friends. He's a detective, so he's kind of like
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, he's somebody who controls the surrounding area, And that's another thing about Grace, is that for us, it's about, are we actually listening to people who are going through this here? Because this happens sometimes to our next door neighbor. This happens sometimes to a friend that we know, and we go, we hear our next door neighbor and we don't do anything about it, But obviously we had added the extra layer that, our husband was a police officer, and that it was hard for her to actually even go and report him, because obviously everybody knows him, in that area, and he controls the area. So yeah, it starts out with the husband who also is dealing with some, I guess it's insecurities, because he's not really a very good police officer. His father was. Again, we don't really see this in the story, but these are backstories of the characters. And then he ends up taking out this aggression on her, his inadequacies on Grace.
And the suspects, do you see?
Pardon?
The other suspects, do you see?
Which other suspects?
I'm saying like the trans and the other characters who just come in through the home while they're
well, there's.
Do they witness it?
I'm so worried about giving away the story, because it's only going to come around South Africa next year. But there's a relationship that she builds with each character in a different way. There's obviously a character that's slightly more sympathetic because he understands, and his backstory is that he comes from an abusive relationship and his mother was abused by his father. So even though he's a criminal, there's a soft spot for Grace, and there's a similarity in where he comes from, and he looks at her in that way. But yeah, Grace is a nurse, and
even worse, the contradiction.
yes, I know. It's the story is really, really like deep, and unfortunate part sometimes is that for us, when we were working with Enclave, it was about like, we need to know how a character gets somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Because a character doesn't, weird enough, when you're making film and you're telling a story, a character doesn't start when you first see them. They live their life before you met them, whenever time you met them. We don't watch a character from when they're born,
Yeah. The origin story.
Exactly. And she didn't ask for this. She's not like, it's not like she doesn't want to leave. It's not like she doesn't want to be free. But she's put in an uncomfortable situation. And I think the scariest thing about this was, when we were doing research, it wasn't hard for us to find these stories. That was the worst thing. There were so many of them. It's literally that I think saddened all of us, as men, and there was an introspective look at, are we doing enough? Do I, when guys talk about women a certain way, am I creating an environment where they feel less comfortable,
Yes, to even speak out.
Do you know what I mean? And it's one of those things. And I think as human beings, as a society,
I'm scared to go home.
yeah, are we listening? Are we protecting our women? Are we creating an environment where they feel safe, that they can share it? Because that's the thing. Again, I brought this up before, but there's many women who come once, and then they come again, and then they come again, and we go, oh, that's her fault because we've told her to stop doing it. But like I'm saying, people don't really understand the psychological effect that it has on somebody. These people take away everything. They take away their humanity, and they don't feel enough. So our job is to always be there, no matter when, no matter how many times they need us, is always be there, always be present, always be listening. Yeah. So
I think that's great advice because personally, I've witnessed someone literally running for their lives in a state that I used to stay, and I was scared that they'll probably go back, and then this time I'll be the isolated one. Do you know, like when someone goes back to the relationship again, and then you'll be the casted out one, and you're the one who's wrong to help someone. But it's actually when you realize, no, they're mentally trapped in that relationship. So it's easier for them to go back to the person who's literally giving them abuse again.
Exactly. And the thing is, Grace's story, and why I went off on a tangent about everything else, was because Grace is a representation of many women in our country. In her backstory, she's a mother, she's a caregiver, she's a lover, and she's a survivor. And that's the thing, and she's dealing with an immense amount of pain. And it's easy for us to look at somebody. I don't know, look, we're all dealing with pain, but I think when I looked at Grace's character, I looked at her as my mother, my sister, my future children, my aunt. You know what I mean? Every woman that and am I available for her when she needs me? And and I think obviously, Enclave took what we had
to the next level,
and she just added, just
looking at the visuals,
I
the
can't
poster.
wait till people see moments in this. I think we were like, wow, we knew she was amazing, but I think she's taking it another day. But everyone was. But
I feel like she's underrated here in South Africa.
I can't speak to whether she's rated or underrated. All I can speak to is the fact that she's a phenomenal actress, and I think when this is a short form project, when we approached her, so we were so concerned because she's such a big star, in our country, and we looked at and we were like, is she going to want to be a part of this stuff, but we believe in the writing also, we believe in the story, and we also wanted the perfect.
So when you were writing it, you were writing it her in mind?
Well, at first, no, but then when we were on our second draft, yes, because we did make a lot of little tweaks and changes, and we started talking about who we wanted it to be, because we first just wanted to work on Grace. Who is Grace as a person, and then by the second, third draft, that's when we started looking at who did we want to play this, and then Enclave's name just kept coming up. I think, remember, we made a joke as we were talking about it, and suggested, and two of us suggested her straight away. So, and then it was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I think as we started writing the rest of the draft, it just started becoming her, and then it makes it difficult sometimes because then you're like, what if she says no?
Quite interesting. But I believe in stars aligning. So with this pre-production phase developing, when was this?
Pre-production was last year, beginning of last year. We shot last year, November. We only released everything toward the end of this year. But the reason for that was we took a lot of time. I know it's a short film, but we took a lot of time on everything else. So the marketing material, the poster.
That's the best way.
Yeah. For us, we wanted to tell the story at our level. Do you know what I mean? At the level we wanted to do it. We wanted to do it service. We don't want to rush through it. Worked a lot on the edits and the story arcs and stuff in it, that make sure everyone's story got told as much as we could. And then we also were working with we worked with a composer in LA, Andrew, who's composer. We worked with some amazing people.
Okay.
I think it's because of the treatment. I think it's because the story touched a lot of people. He works on Netflix productions in the States, and we pitched this to him, and he's like, "Yo,
how did you meet him?"
He's actually he went to school with Hosanna.
Okay.
But he's gone on to he's taken on Hollywood, and we reached out to him and stuff. And he's so busy, And we just spoke to him about like what we wanted because the music is very important for us. The tone. Without this, the story is.
Was it a conscious decision on the trailer that I watched that there's no music?
So there is music,
Yeah.
but here's another thing. So the trailer has a pretty ugly song, Dala, right?
Okay.
But we wanted to get the intensity of that because we just like, I remember we reached out pretty ugly and we asked him and he's like, yo, wow, it was so weird. Like, why did you choose this song? We're like, no, it just gave us the energy of what we wanted to capture in the trailer. So the beginning of the trailer, there's no music because we wanted to play a scene and then the rest of it is just Dala. Because I think the music that we created for the series it didn't really work in a trailer because it's very story kind of. It works with story.
It's a score.
Tone, and it's a score, exactly. So, and then we've also got a talented, up and coming, not really up and coming, I don't even know, Dali Danger. He's got a song in there as well, amazing song called Amen. And
I like that you're using local artists.
of course, no, for us, this is an African story, 110%, everything about us is an African story. But also, I mean, our music is amazing, man. Like, our music is taking off the world. One of the things we get to do is we shoot stuff with BT for BT Awards and stuff. So we've seen the growth of how big African music and culture is around the world. Like over the last 4 or 5 years. When we first started, people were like, oh, just Africa. Now they're like bigger than American celebrities.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
We literally are the trendsetters now.
We really are tastemakers. And it's weird because I said 5-6 years ago, we said our time is coming. Like we are like, you can't deny us this forever, and I think there's just an authenticity in our music and there's a flavor and it's just vibe, man. It's an amazing energy, to it. So yeah.
Okay, so we spoke about the concept. I want us to speak about the locations. Where did you guys shoot?
We shot in Soweto. We shot in a family's house. It was amazing location because I think if any filmmakers are watching and you as a filmmaker, is production design is such an underrated department.
But it does beautiful stuff with textures, tones,
story,
lighting.
like tone, texture, story. And when we were writing, there was another thing because we wrote the actual house's story, of what the house meant, and what the house represented, Grace and Leaf, our husband's relationship, and we had to have the perfect house, and that was like difficult because we had a limited budget.
So the house was like a character in itself.
In itself, yes. Because this is obviously very subtextual. It's not like directly telling us exactly this, but the story of the house tells the story of Grace and the husband's relationship. Yeah. So we tried to work in a house and amazing location, amazing. Like we did work on it, but like it gave us so much already. So it was such a beautiful location.
So who was your production designer?
Charlotte. I'm forgetting his surname right now. Why am I blanking now? I will send it to you. But Charlotte, she's amazing.
Go check it out in the credits.
I literally know her surname, but I'm sorry, I'm just blanking. I don't know why. She's phenomenal. What's crazy is that I believe in the story. I think as directors and producers, we believe in what we want to tell. But I think working with some of the people is also a little bit surreal because she had just worked on, I think, Blood Songs. She came up with Blood Songs and it was
the new season 3. No, it was last year, so it's probably season 2.
No, Blood Songs is the new one, the showman.
Sorry, Jamal.
Yes.
Why did I think Blood and Water?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I completely. People like Blood in the titles now.
I'm so sorry.
It's a thing, but yeah, she worked on such an insane production.
Wow.
Huge production.
Yeah, that was big.
From that, and working on our production, and we were blown away, and that's what I'm saying with working with great people, because we understood PD as obviously dressing on sets and stuff, but we were talking about story, and when we spoke to her, she understood what we were talking about. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like we had to explain it extra to her. She understood, and then she also came with ideas on how to enhance the story and how we can add these elements to it, just to make the world feel real and authentic and make it feel like there's actually a place people live in, and tell Grace's story through the actual house and production design and things, So So even, I mean, even down to other characters, not just
It
Grace.
is well stuff because when I was showing a friend yesterday the trailer, I was like, tomorrow I'll be interviewing the director of this film, and Ungelo said like, Zoti vibes, and I was like, yeah, because
Wow, that's a huge compliment. Okay.
yeah, it is because it's Oscar, like
Thank
it's
you.
top tier. So
Thank you.
sometimes people don't underestimate the power of simplicity.
Yeah.
And if you just do it right, focus on the key characters, and I think from what I watched from the trailer, it's simple enough for it to carry on. I already feel like I know more than enough in the trailer.
And you still don't know all of it. That's the craziest thing. That's another thing we worked on when we worked on the trailer. Like, no, we can't give it away. There's so much stuff. Yeah, it's the story is there, but there's still so much that unfolds. That's amazing. Yeah.
Let's talk about the premiere at RF.
Yes.
Yes. How was that like?
I think it was crazy. It was surreal. It was surreal because you make this. I mean, the process of it is so. It's so amazing. Just being able to tell story with amazing people, amazing cast, and then I think you sometimes overlook the actual sharing it with people. And what's odd is that in all my years now in this industry, I've never actually seen my work up on a big screen with an audience.
It's nerve-wracking.
It was. So I was with my friend, was like, okay, you can stop, like, doing properly, you know. So it was amazing, you know, and I think thank Ara for it because we weren't planning to premiere it here yet. It's doing this festival around, you know. It's been at a festival in the UK. There's a festival in Argentina. There's a festival in the States.
Oh, so you guys have been touring now?
Well, we haven't gone there, but it's the film is the
You've sent the stuff.
Sent it, yes, yeah. So we keep getting. You'll see if you follow us. We literally got into 2 festivals the other day. We can't announce it yet until next week. Going to a big festival in LA. So yeah, it's been a huge interest.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very, very much. I'm just happy that the work is being seen by people and our peers. And then RF they'd seen the trailer when we started promoting it, and they came to us and asked us if we wanted to premiere it. And I think for us, it wasn't just about premiering it, it was about we like RF as a festival, you know. They're an amazing initiative, and what Ayanda and Lulu are doing, are amazing for young filmmakers and just film, you know, which is, I think we need more of those festivals. So we said, yeah, of course, you know, let's do it. And then, yeah, and I think it was sharing with people. We got a standing ovation, which was crazy. I was like, you know. And
what did you guys play there? Did you play the whole entire?
Yeah, we played the whole series. So we cut out the what you call it, the credits. So it's just like played one episode, episode 2, episode 3. So we went right each other. So you kind of felt a little bit like a film, but you felt the separation. Yeah. And it was really well received. We did a Q&A. But for me, I think what's weird is, you know, when you're making a film and you're trying to tell a story and there's a message, there's subtextual messages, there's also messages in it. You always like, are people going to get it? And I think that was the greatest thing, was a lot of people got it, and a lot of people enjoyed the story, and a lot of people resonated with Grace.
I think it's also the timing also here in South Africa, because I think next week for GBV.
Yes.
Yeah.
16 days.
Yeah, it's next week.
Yeah.
And I think it's the time. I like it when people create content where the world is going to be more conscious and it's easier for it to be received, so the message won't get lost and stuff like that. So yeah, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, look, for me, you know, it's GBV. We need to treat it like a disease, like any disease, like COVID, like anything, you know. We need to cure it. It's not, we can't keep ignoring it, you know. We need, and I love the initiative of 16 days of exorcism, but it should be 365 days of exorcism until we get rid of it, you know, because it really is destroying us as a society, and I just think it's just sad that we're in a situation where our women don't feel safe. They can't just live, you know. And we're robbing people of their right to exist and be humans and enjoy life, and I think a lot of men, I'm not trying to belittle men or anything like that. I think I'm a man, and I think it's just that we don't understand. It's not about the actual act, is that we're robbing people of the freedom of just being alive in today's society. They have to, when they go out, they have to be worrying about what's going to happen to them. You know, I don't think you understand. I mean, I don't think you can sometimes understand what that's like. You know, imagine
Unless
every
it's
second
affected.
day.
I noticed that guys can be called someone they know is actively an abuser, but until their sister or cousin is abused, that's when they start being socially conscious.
Yeah. And I hope it, like I said, that's a sad part. I hope that no one has to go through that, both as a bystander, as a family member of someone, or somebody actually, you know what I mean, having to go through that at all. So yeah, and that's unfortunate. Sometimes you only want to be allergic to things when it touches us, you know. And I think, as I'm saying, it needs to be, even whether you know somebody or it's happened to you. This is not it's not a me problem. It's not a them problem.
Yeah.
It's a whole country problem. Everybody's involved. We're all involved. Just like we're all involved with COVID. We're all involved with It's a disease that we have to cure, and we have to find a way to cure it. And if we don't take it seriously, we're never going to cure it. You know. Yeah.
Let's go into cinematography, my favorite.
Yes.
What's your cinematographer, and what were you guys like trying to achieve within the narrative?
Whew. So a cinematographer was Brad. You'll see when it comes out. Brad actually is. I could be wrong. I know he was DOP on the Lioness season 1.
Okay.
Right. I think he's doing Lioness season 2. I don't want to say that he's not the DOP in it, but I remember him talking about it because I'm really excited for it. He is phenomenal DOP. I don't know what she's on it, so you can go check him. He's on Exposure. Just an amazing DOP. Like I think he's also an unsung hero of the story, because I don't know, you know, if you've made a film or if you told a story, you know, you really understand the importance of having a great DOP, and he's one of the great DOPs in our country. So we had ideas of how we wanted the scene to play out, but then he took that and he also just built onto it. You know what I mean? The way I've worked with DOPs, but I mean, like, the way he understands story is like, it's I think he understands beautiful shots.
Yeah.
But the way he understands story is something else, you know. Like he feels a scene's playing out between actors and stuff, and we're like in a mid shot, but he knows when he needs to go. He understands the script to the point where he knows that the moment needs a bit more impact, you know. And he's a phenomenal DOP. But and we're lucky to have him. You know, he was working on some of the biggest projects in the country. But I think more than just being able to more than just shot composition.
Yeah.
Just the way he enhanced the story that we're trying to tell. You know, he's just so good with actors, man. He just understands them. He understands where they are at that moment. He understands what story, what moment they're trying to tell. You know what I mean? What the context is, the subtext. Yeah. So
What did you guys shoot with?
We showed an Ari, right? So, yeah, that was like a deal breaker for us. That was like we're gonna
no
shoot
deal
Ari.
breaker.
No, like as in we're not going below that. Like we're gonna take money out of our own pockets if we had to. And that was also another thing that Brad helped us out with. He got us the equipment and a lot of the equipment, and he really came on board, and he was an unsung hero of the series because. The crew he brought, his whole crew were phenomenal. One of the greatest crews I've worked with. Just everybody was just quick, smart, just got it. Do you know what I mean? You know, they don't complain. They just. I think that's a nice thing as a director, is that you need to find people who are in love with the story as much as you are, because they're not complaining about not doing or having to do something. They want to do it just as badly as you do, because they understand that shot what that means, or what that scene means, you know, and what that moment means. So so we shot an Ari. And
what made you for technically or in general? It doesn't have to be technically for you to decide on that, because I want the people who are watching, like the young filmmakers, to understand the quality of an Ari. Is it the mini Lexia, or which one was it?
Mini Lexia, yeah. So okay, I'm not a DOP, so to go to the actual technical of it,
it's a beautiful.
yeah. So for us, it was that or red. We would have been happy with the red, but the reason we wanted Alexa, we slightly favored it. It's just the color profile. It was a lot more cinematic.
Yes.
And we want, you know what I mean?
Does
I
have
think
that.
I think for someone like myself and also Menzi, we're in love with film. Film is very expensive to shoot on, so it's not
Yes.
possible. So I think Alexa gives you that. It was the tone of it. Yeah, I'm trying to think. But yeah, it was just we looked at various pictures next to each other and color profiles and things like that. And I think it gave us the tone and the look and the depth of feel they wanted to have. Because the story, the lighting is slightly dark and dimmer, you know what I mean? And it's just a lot more richer. I know.
Makes me even more excited to watch it now.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Ray. Yeah, so I mean, Brad will obviously be able to talk more about the technical differences, but for us, it was just in a simple way. It was the way it took in light, the texture, the tone of it, and I think it was just a closer to a film kind of look that we wanted, which our creator Sandhya for you. She kind of like added that layer. She was amazing. She literally was giving us lights like on the day. Like she was like, we were like, whoa. We were like, we're still gonna go crazy. It was literally like first scene. She sends us these like, I'm like, what is this? It looks so amazing. So that's another key thing is that we're shooting a good camera. Get somebody who's a good colorist, you know. Yeah, but for me, I think it was around look. I think we looked at the kind of texture we wanted, you know, and the Alexa spoke to it slightly more. Like I said, I would have been happy with the red because it's still an amazing camera. But yeah, I think the Alexa was kind of more in tune with what we wanted the film to look like, and it represented our treatment.
Yeah.
Or anything else, yeah.
Congratulations about that decision. Another question for young filmmakers, like when you're doing like your first film, what do you feel like your budget should concentrate on mostly?
Sure. You know why it's a difficult question? Because there's nothing that doesn't require your attention on a film. That's the thing. It's so difficult, you know, because you can't say, like, you know, sound, I can negate sound, because without good sound, you know, without a good cinematographer, without good actors, but I think, sure, it's a difficult question actually, because the more I can say, oh, a great cinematographer, and that's true, like
The person who has the skill.
Exactly, a great cinematographer and a great camera. You know, look, you don't have to have a great. You can tell a story with an A7S or an FS. You know, it'll still be great. But I think a great DOP, somebody who understands stories in the hands of something, it's completely different. But yeah, you need great sound. I think actors are so important because we often really disrespect the craft of performance, you know what I mean? We just think anyone can just say words. It's not that. There's so many layers, you know, and even myself, I've worked with actors, but working on this project, even I learned a lot more about giving actors the playground to be able to work, you know, and but having people to understand your work and be able to make it better. You know? So you know, with a different cast, it might have been a completely different series or project, you know. So the cast for me is also amazing. Feed people because we, you know what I mean.
Yeah, people get angry and tense.
Yeah, but if I to be honest with you, I think equipment, DOP, great production designer, because you can often. There's a lot of story that you don't see, but you only see it when it's not there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like when you don't have enough for production design. When it's not there, you notice it. When it's there, you don't notice it in a weird way. You know, there's so much story to it. And I think I even myself again have learned of respecting the production line department. You know, we often neglect it. Just get things, you know what I mean? But there's so much story to actual, like, you know, the way someone's dressed and what you're trying to tell about them and what an environment looks like. So great production design, good sound, great DOP.
Okay, my last question for you. Before we started the interview, you were telling me about you guys used to have like your own film vlog and stuff
No
like
comments.
that. Please tell the audience about the time when you
Ooh.
guys used to do film interviews.
Yeah, so we similarly started out like you. We had it started as a YouTube channel called Event, and then it became like a
I'm gonna
website.
search for it, guys. I'm gonna put an attachment.
I think it's still up. I know I've deleted, no, I've unlisted some of the videos and stuff because, woo, it's embarrassing.
Why?
No, because we used to do these things. We used to do skits. So we used to like review movies, and we used to talk about genre and all that kind of stuff. But I think it really was, we were film lovers. You know, we wanted to talk about film and TV and everything like that. And we started in a friend's basement. We used to like shoot on an iPhone 3 and an iPhone 4 and a 2 or something like that.
Now we're up to 15.
You know what I mean, right? Like some people, we were editing on a small MacBook that had half a gig of RAM. You know what I mean? Those things. But yeah, we started out just a bunch of guys talking about, three friends talking about film and TV shows and things that inspired the genre, blockbusters, what it means to be, you know, what Tarantino at that time, Scorsese, all the people that we love, you know, South African filmmakers. And then we started reviewing films and stuff like that. And then we do like skits around the reviews before we review the film. And then, yeah, man, it actually grew. We had a huge Facebook following, I think like 25,000 followers at that time. Then they sent us to junkets overseas. It was huge, but I think we're happy that there's a lot of people like you know, there's the Philip Bellas, there's everything, people who appreciate storytelling and want to talk about it. Plus, I think it was the balancing. I think we were guys who wanted to make film, and that was our
I think that's a great art to it. First, you need to like know how to break films down as a filmmaker, and be able to criticize and see what they were trying to achieve themselves, and then how would you could have done it better. Those discussions are very important, and I feel like in today's world, if you're outside of Joburg, it's harder for you to have that discussion. But if we live in the social media space where a director, producer, cinematographer can break down their point of view, what they were trying to achieve, you can be able to impact that within your own work. And it's very important for, I feel like, to reach other filmmakers outside of Joburg in the African space, so we can grow.
You hit the nail on the head. I'll be honest with you, one of the excuses we had was that we got to speak to the directors we wanted to, you know, in the country, you know, and we learned from a lot of people of what it takes to become a filmmaker, what it takes to be in this industry, their point of view of storytelling, you know. So we got to meet amazing people, and I think we wanted to start also telling our own stories. And it was a vehicle for that, you know. We actually have got another platform that hasn't gone live yet. We are looking at, but one of the fundamental things was that we wanted to learn, and I think now that we also learn, we want to pass on that knowledge, hopefully, because there's a lot of storytellers out there, and there's a lot of filmmakers, and it's a great time to be a young filmmaker because there's so many platforms now, you know, to be able to tell story, you know, both, and also now there's appetite overseas now for our stories, you know. So I think for us, it's about one, educating the public, because I don't know if there's enough. You know, we don't have variety here, like, you know, the publication variety. We don't have a lot of like specifying like broadcasting film and talking about film and TV shows and things like that. So for us, it's about also bridging the gap between us and like the actual viewers, but also then also educating younger people that want to learn, you know, that want to know, that maybe can't spend time with the director, maybe want to see, you know, like a point of view. So so we are looking at doing something similar to the event, but with a different name. So I'll let you know, and I'll look out for it when we do start. Cool.
Any last words? What are you guys hoping to achieve with this project to take you further as a company?
Well, actually, one of the main reasons we did this was, like I said, we were primarily in reality. We had done a few short films, but for us, we were trying to develop our profile. you know, as
Which is
storytellers.
important
Very
to show
important.
how diverse you are.
Yes, exactly. But I think it's also important to you to actually know what story you want to tell. That's another thing, is that we all want to be filmmakers, we all want to be storytellers, we all want to write it, but what stories do you want to tell? You know, which is
Yeah.
very important. What are you trying to tell the world? What you know, how do you want to tell the story? So for us, it was about more focusing on the tone and the genres we want to work on. And then obviously also to continue conversations with broadcasters that we were talking to funders that we have that we're talking to. Yeah, just kind of show that like this is what we can do, is the level that we can produce. I'll be honest with you, as a young filmmaker, the advice I can give you is this is a career. Don't look at it as like a quick fix. You never, if you speak to the greatest directors, I've listened to them, they never feel like they've arrived. They always feel like they're learning, because stories always developing, times are always changing, equipment, you know what I mean? There's different VFX, or you know, so they're always learning about new things. Look at it as a career, right? Work on your storytelling and how you want to tell it, and then work on your profile as a storyteller. You know, focus on that, you know, and that's your most important tool, more than just trying to chase whatever project is, you know, because you can also get lost in the wilderness as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
You're not strong about what you want, you know, what stories you want to tell. So for us, Four Walls was the first phase of a slate of narrative stuff that we're working on. Where there's I'll reveal information with you. I don't know why I'm being secret too. There's a
No, it's
film that
important.
we are going to production. We're in pre-production at the moment. Production next year. It's a horror. Ironically, this
Can
is a
I
horror,
come on
though.
set for behind the scenes?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
And it's also written by an Acadian, by the way.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
it's really dope. So we're working on that. Hopefully, going to production next year. We're writing. There's quite a few films. There's a few series and stuff that we're writing at the moment that are also kind of in pre-production. But yeah, so there's a lot. This is just like the first step in a marathon of what we were going, you know. And I think for us, what we're excited about is the stories that we're telling, because people will watch Four Walls. And there's another thing actually. There was another short film we shot actually in that time period that hasn't been released. It's called Support.
Okay.
It was directed by Hosanna, written by Hosanna and another writer. It's a short film, amazing short film. It's experimental comedy, so different to Four Walls. So I think a lot of people are gonna be like, yo, because that's another thing.
I'm excited about that because we're not releasing enough comedies lately.
Weird enough, Hosanna said that, and oddly enough, the other thing that him and I are writing at the moment is a comedy as well.
That's great.
It's a comedy as well, because I think sometimes, you know, we live in weird times, not just in South Africa but globally, and sometimes just good time to laugh. But also there's a lot of context and it speaks to a lot of issues in South Africa, but in a comedic way.
Yes.
So we're writing at the moment, but there's a few other projects that are in pre-production. But I'm just mentioning the horror because it's probably going to be the first thing shot and the other thing shot after that.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
We're
you.
looking forward to the next slate.
Thank you.
Hopefully you guys will invite us to on set, or we'll talk about it. And most definitely we're looking forward.
Yeah, sure. We always, like, for us, we understand what it's like to start out, man. We're still starting out in a way, but you never stop. And if you can learn, if you want to teach, we're always willing to help people out there. Cool.
Most definitely. Guys, so go and check out the movie. Well, I'll share the trailer and hopefully you guys will be able to see it soon. When will they be able to watch it?
We're planning early next year. It'll be early next year. We can't confirm the exact date yet because we're still in negotiations.
Yeah, on which platform?
Yes, on which platform. But also the first phase of it is doing it's like a festival run.
Okay.
Like I said, it's going to do an international festival run,
which will create the buzz.
But to create the buzz, yes, exactly. And then we want to, then we'll come to South Africa. Like it's already premiered in South Africa. But on a platform, that'll be its next phase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out soon, guys. Well, I'll just be aware.
Just be aware. Yes, just look out, follow us on Well Done Media on Instagram, on Twitter. Again, follow Khosana Munchusi, Juvais Dan on well, and you'll
Yeah.
see. We're always posting about it, so you always find out. Yeah. Cool.
Cool. Let me save. Thank you.
Thanks. Cool. I